Hello, wonderful. This is Sarah, and I'm here with Amanda Chils, and she does happiness, confidence, empowerment, and all the lovely things that we love to talk about on the Toxic Person Proof podcast. Hello, Amanda. How are you?
Hello. Really, I'm living the dream.
Well, we both have coffee.
Yes.
It's early for both of us because we're from the East Coast, right? So, basically, we're like having a party already. So we're happy to have you come to our party with us.
Yes.
Tell people a bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I do a couple different things actually. So I am a licensed therapist in North Carolina, and I branched into coaching for a couple reasons. One was to get around insurance. They're pretty strict, and I'm restricted to North Carolina. And I was like, but I can help lots of people. I just can't do it through that license. So I branched out into coaching. And I find that a lot, like really a lot of women resonate with me, a lot of men too. So I basically take women on their own journey from burned out and spinning their wheels. Everything is friction. Something is wrong, and either they know what and they don't know how to fix it, or they don't know what and you can't fix what you don't know. Yeah. But something is definitely wrong. They're not in alignment. They're often not very confident. They struggle with self-discipline, and all the things that come along with that. So I take them along this journey and I teach them, if you imagine they're drowning in the deep end of a pool, I teach them how to swim. So that they really understand what it takes to build confidence, to build worth, to have boundaries, to live a life that is meaningful to them. Mm-hmm. And then they just jam with it. So once their life is in alignment, once they're like, oh, I don't have to actually do things that I hate. I don't have to spend time with people I hate, or that are draining or that are toxic, right? Then they shed all this dead weight and they are so much lighter. And then the happiness and the confidence come as a byproduct of doing those actions.
Okay. And there's like three things like I want to grab it. Yes. Okay. So you married confidence and self-discipline and actions. And I think that is such an important piece of the conversation. Before we hopped on air, we had that conversation of like, maybe even like mantras, like I am worthy, I am fabulous, I'm amazing. And I believe in our worth as humans. Like I believe that humans have worth, right? But I think we get confused because it's like, well, I know that I'm like worthy and I deserve it, but why don't I feel confident? So how do we start to make that switch?
Yes. So where a lot of women struggle, and men too, but specifically we're talking about women right now, is that where they are, I hate myself, I don't think I'm worthy. They can say it, right? And they say, oh, I tried the affirmations and they don't work for me. Well, no shit. It's too big of a jump. If you hate yourself, if you have spent your whole life self-betraying and self-protecting and giving up your power, it's too big of a jump. You can't go from I literally hate myself and prove to myself every day that everyone else is more important for me because I don't have boundaries, because I don't speak up, because I don't do things I enjoy, because I'm completely out of alignment. So a lot of women prioritize safety. That's where I think it comes from, and that's where I see a lot, especially if you're dealing with toxic people. You become smaller, you give up your power, you give up your voice. But what you do when you do that is you betray yourself. You act against your best interests. You act against what you know to be true and right and good for you. And that proves to yourself that you're not worthy. So they can say, I'm worthy. I deserve a good relationship. I deserve to be happy. And it feels fake. And so your brain goes, no, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You don't deserve those things. You'll never have those things. I can't even imagine you being happy. I have lots of clients tell me that. I cannot imagine being happy. I'm like, you don't have to. You don't have to. Trust the process, even without the vision. And so the reason that we understand, like, yeah, we can believe that humans have worth, but worth and confidence, and this is what a lot of people get wrong, they're built from actions. You're never going to feel confident without doing the things that build confidence. And so a lot of women will start with affirmations, but it's way too big of a jump. most women have to start with neutral statements. I'm not the worst person on the planet. Yeah, I'm not even joking. Like,
no,
I'm not kidding.
We have this.
That's what I teach them to say.
Well, no, we have this whole thing on like why it's silly to think everyone's needs, wants, and desires are important in the entire world except for mine. You know,
Right.
It's like how can that be? How can everyone be important except for you?
Right. And you outsource your power and you outsource your life, and your life doesn't belong to you. And when your life doesn't belong to you, there's this huge misalignment gap because your soul goes, this is not right. I am sovereign. I am worthy, but we're not acting as if. And so it's this glaring, huge, what's wrong gap. And we can't jump that gap with just affirmations. Affirmations are really kind of like the last 30%. We have to start with actions. Then the belief comes. You act and confidence follows. It is never the other way around.
I agree so much. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I don't think a lot of people are.
Well, they get it backwards.
Yes, I agree.
And they sell these affirmation journals. All right, it's a money racket too, right? They sell these affirmation journals and they sell these 30 days to confidence journaling. And it's
a straw house. It's a house made out of, right? Because, you know, I believe, well, I talk about this with red flags because people are like, oh, what are some red flags I should watch out for? And it's like, if I lined up 13-year-old girls and listed out what your ex did to you, they would all know those are red flags. So it's not just knowing what the red flags are, it's having the self-integrity or self-discipline, I think is the word you use, the self-discipline to act on what you actually see.
Right. And that's why it's a discipline practice, not a motivation practice. So I work kind of coincidentally, a lot of the work that I do, women end up leaving toxic relationships or lazy or imbalanced. So it's kind of all through doing the work. And we never start there. I already know their relationship is toxic by talking to them for 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, no, hell no. I already know, but I can't give them the answer. They're not ready. They have to do the work to say, oh, I don't know what boundaries are. All I feel is pissed off and resentful and everyone I deal with. And I'm like, girl, that's boundaries.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I've never done anything for me. I haven't done anything for me in 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years.
Okay, let's talk about that because in the process of building confidence and doing something for me, and there was a Facebook post recently and it said, what is the kindest thing you've done for yourself this week? And somebody said, I thought it was a great question, but then I was really disappointed with the answers because I feel like the beauty industry, and yes, I have makeup on right now, right? But the beauty industry hacks this. And they said, what's the kindest thing you've done for yourself? Yes. And I got my nails and eyebrows done. And it's like, well, okay. And they probably think I feel more confident. And I do like having my nails done. I do. I'm not saying that's bad, right?
But that's not the root.
It's not,
It's not confidence. That's putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, right? There's a reason that, like, you're right. That's a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And especially, oh, I did a face mask and I took a bubble bath. Cool. Are you abused in your relationship? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Do people treat you cruelly? It doesn't mean anything. And you're right. So it's a lot. I mean, how much money does the beauty industry spend marketing that self-care? Because they make a ton of money off women who go, oh my God, self-care, my face mask. And it is, right? It can be. But again, if you are in a toxic relationship, if you have toxic people in your life and you allow it, eat the face mask. It doesn't do anything for you. Like, you're not doing anything. But a lot of people don't understand that it is a discipline practice. You have to walk away and keep walking, no matter how you feel, because you deserve better. Now, people get it backwards, right? They'll say, well, I have to feel like I deserve better to walk away. How? And here's a question I want your listeners to really think about. How are you ever going to feel better when someone is stepping on you? Not only stepping on you, they're actively hurting you. You are never going to feel better, to feel confident, to feel worthy when someone cuts you down every chance they get, and you don't do the work to put a fence up. It's never going to happen. And that's one of the reasons, not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons that women stay in these really toxic, horrible, even just lazy, right? I know a lot of women with lazy partners. Lazy.
That's true. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, lazy. And I'm just like, yo, this boy's a scrub. Like, what are you doing? But they don't think they deserve better. Well, I'd rather be with them than be alone. Bro, get a cat. Like, then you're not alone, and it's okay.
I do love the idea of the self-discipline. And when we
discipline practice.
And with my ladies, I've seen like even the idea of I deserve better can feel like too big of a leap. And if you say something like, I am no longer someone who spreads darkness in the world, right? And if someone is like cutting them down, criticizing yourself, they are spreading darkness, you know, and if you're empath, you know.
Yeah. And a really good neutral statement is like, I don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Most of my women actually start with, this isn't okay.
Yeah.
That's where they start. It's not even, holy shitballs, this person is horrible. It's, this isn't okay. And I just go, you're right. You're right. It's not okay. And now this is where it gets really tricky, right? Because I don't want to victim blame. So that is not what
I knew we were about to go there. I was like, yeah, here we go. Careful.
Toxic people, and here's a big education piece. Toxic people don't care who they're with. They don't care. They don't care. They will stay with anyone who allows them to stay. Now, that is not that these women ask to be abused or they ask to be in these relationships. They don't. But women allow them to stay. And there are many reasons for that, right? Prioritizing safety, not having the resources to leave, not having the support. So I'm not denying any of those things. But when you allow a toxic person to continue to do what they do, because it always escalates, it always starts small, then it's on them. And I tell them, I say, this is harsh and I mean it to be. This is on you. I said, they don't care who they're with. They'll do this to the next person who allows them to stay. You have to set the boundary, obviously within the safe. Sometimes it's not safe, right? So then we have to do a lot of work beforehand to say, how do we safety plan? What can we do? It's not always feasible in the beginning.
Right.
There has to be work to be done before, but it's on the, and this is such a loaded statement, like it's on the person who's not toxic in the toxic relationship to leave the relationship, because the toxic person, well, they ain't leaving. They're getting exactly what they want. And it'll only get worse.
And it's so often you hear, like I'll hear women will talk and they'll say, you know what? Well, I'm really confident he's going to leave me alone this time.
Nope.
And they're putting all their power into hoping that person does the right thing.
Right.
And I agree with you completely. And it's a very careful thing that we
deserve it. They do not ask for it.
I believe
the reason it continues.
Yeah, they got manipulated into it.
Oh, yes.
Their kindness used against them. Their best pieces were used against them. Very often they're guilty. And now from here, it's on you. And no, it's not fair. It's not fair. I don't even have words for how unfair it is. But that's all that is, because there's no other options. There's no other choice.
Right. Yeah. And this is where it kind of like discipline gets married with like radical honesty. It's not fair. It's not fair. Okay. I'm not going to drown in that. You're right. It's not fair. Now let's do something about it. Let's go to where it is fair. So very often too, when I work with women in really imbalanced relationships, we don't even start on the relationship. I already know it's a byproduct of doing the other work. We don't start there because it's also scary. Like I'm telling them this person who they've probably been with for a long time, who I know is toxic because I'm the outside in, who they know is toxic because they can feel the misalignment. They don't want to admit it, because then you have to admit, oh my God, what have I done? What have I allowed? What have I gotten myself into? How do I get out? And that's a pretty big gap. Like it's scary for them to realize, oh, this person who said they loved me doesn't at all.
What capable of love? You know, it's not that they don't love you. It's that they don't love.
Right, they don't love anybody.
Yeah.
They don't love anything. So, and that's really the hallmark of toxic people is like, they don't care who they're with. They will literally stay with anyone who allows them to stay. Fact, I will die on that hill. Come at me. I can write it on my headstone. Like, that is a fact. And they'll just move on, right? Once they realize this person is really setting up boundaries and they're not coming back, you know, they'll trash talk them and they'll say whatever, but then they just move on. And it's that sticky point where it's like leaving, but there's still, it's like when you pull slime away and there's still that like residue that it's like literally like suctioning slime where you're just like, come on, if you get far enough away, they'll detach. How long that takes, who knows? Because it's, you know, different for every person. But if these women, what I see is that the women do the work to set boundaries with other people, to start doing real, actual self-care, to speak up, to do things they enjoy, to move their body more. Like all those things are really self-care. They start eating better. Like all these things are so linked. And once we get one, it's like a domino effect. They all follow. And then they're ready to do the relationship. But we very often don't start there. But for a lot of people who leave, and do you work with women who like have just left or who are currently still in it?
Mainly that have left. I'm really specialized in building a life after the relationship. I feel like that was what was missing, right? Like there's about 1 million people talking about narcissism, talking about gaslighting, talking about, and then it's like, hey, you left.
Now what?
Crickets, crickets.
Because what you learn, okay, so I'll specify this a little more to women who leave. What you learn when you're in an abusive relationship, you will carry into other relationships, not because you want the same type of relationship, because you had to prioritize safety for so long, And so I have a lot of women who will leave abusive relationships. They say, oh my God, I have so much anxiety. I say, you don't have anxiety, you have PTSD.
Yeah.
That's what you have, because you had to, in order to stay alive, think of every scenario, every exit, read their facial expression 24/7, and then think of every scenario in case they exploded. I mean, it's a constant danger, but it takes really a good amount of work. Thank God you're doing this, because a lot of people don't. It takes a lot of work to unlearn those safety behaviors, and they're very sticky because they literally saved your life.
Yes.
And so these women go, oh my God, you know, I met a good guy who says he loves me, but I can't believe it. Why would he want to be with me? I'm so broken. Why would he love me? Or I just keep thinking he's going to cheat on me because their ex did. Or, you know, they don't understand how to work through their triggers. They don't understand why they're so rooted. They just beat themselves up. Well, I can't trust my partner. Well, duh, your last partner was an abusive a-hole. You have to learn. You have to learn. And it's still a discipline practice. And I say you have to choose to trust your partner. You have to choose to give them the benefit of the doubt. The more often you choose that, the stronger that grows and the easier it becomes. But it's not easy at first.
Yeah. Giving them, I talk about like giving them a chance to show up well.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
Yeah. Choosing to see what actually is. So if
honesty.
And then it's like, oh, they actually did what they said they were going to.
I love this. Right.
Take another step.
You have to give them the chance.
Yes. Yeah. You know, when I got married, people said, what do you like about my husband, Ben? And I said, he's consistently kind. I'm never shocked at like what I never come home. Never. I say never. Come home worried about what type of mood he's going to be in. Like never, ever.
Which is something that for so many women is like wild.
Yeah, that's why I said.
What do you mean?
And I'm like, no, like I'm trying to think of even like one example in the.
Like your partner should be consistent. Your partner should be kind. Your partner shouldn't be cruel when they're angry and say, well, I was just angry. No. Thank you. So and there's this huge gap after they leave, unless they're like actively working with someone, they start to rebuild. But and you must see this all the time, but they only know what they know, right? So even if they get 10%, oh my gosh, phenomenal. Like, hell yeah, we love it. But the other 90% sometimes is a knowledge gap and sometimes is a practice gap, but often it's both. They don't know what they don't know. So they may have these triggers and they go to beating themselves up because who used to beat them up 24/7?
Yeah.
That's all they know.
That's a really good point, because in the conversation around confidence,
Mm-hmm.
how am I confident before I have to practice confidence is
You
really
aren't. You
right?
aren't. You aren't.
Yeah.
You cannot be confident without doing the action. You can't be a runner without running. You can't. You can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't feel like a runner until you start running. You don't
Mhm.
feel confident until you start having the things that promote confidence. Those things, pretty simple, right? Simple, not easy. Boundaries. You
Mhm.
have boundaries with yourself, with other people, with your energy, with your time. There's a lot of things into boundaries. You do actual self-care. Now, under self-care, guess what? Again, boundaries. Boundaries everywhere, all day long. We love them. So you do actual self-care. Here's how you build confidence, right? For people who are like, yeah, cool, that's super great, but like, how do I do it? You start setting boundaries. You say, what am I about? What do I want to allow? And what do I not want to allow? And then you learn, and it is literally a skill. You hire someone like Sarah, you hire someone like me, and you learn how to set boundaries, what to say, how to manage their reactions, how to manage your guilt when you set them.
That's it. Yeah. How to manage the discomfort. Because that's what people say. It's like, hey, Sarah, how do I
Mm-hmm.
tell someone something they don't want to hear, tell them no, but say it in a way
I feel
that they
so guilty.
realize I told them no. So then
And I
they
say,
don't
you can't.
get at me. Right. It's like, what?
You can't do that. Nope,
Yeah.
because you're still outsourcing your power. The thing about boundaries, they say they're mine. You will not cross my power. I decided where these lines are, right? It's a very empowering move. And it can start small. It can start with like a coworker who you don't have a huge attachment to, who says, hey, can you do this thing for me? You know, like I really don't have time. I'm so sorry. I can get to it XYZ, but I can't do it now for you. We can start small. Think something like, hey, where do you want to eat? Right? What's a small boundary? I want tacos. Or hey, how do you feel about Mexican? No, I don't want that. That's a boundary. So a lot of people don't realize how small they can be, but the small builds over time, right? So you build
on that. I went out to eat with some friends.
Yeah.
Years ago, and they said, which is going to sound funny to all the people like who know this version of Sarah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we went out to eat, and they set us underneath a really big fan, like and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be miserable the whole meal because I'm going to be freezing. And so I said, hey, is there any way we could sit somewhere else? And I remember my friend, like, that's a boundary, right? I don't self-care that I want to enjoy my friends, not be freezing,
right.
Ask for what I want. I mean, super tiny thing. And I remember my friends going, wow, you're really changing. You know, because now people are used to this version of me, and they're like, you know, but it's great.
That's
it's
wild.
Beautiful. I'm actually meeting those friends tomorrow. I haven't seen them, so I'm actually meeting them tomorrow. Funny, probably why it's fresh on my mind.
But it is a change, right? And it can be small. So people don't have to start big, right? But one of the things with boundaries is you're gonna feel guilty. You're gonna feel uncomfortable. I say let it ride sidecar. It can't literally stop you from doing a thing, which is why it's a discipline. We do the thing no matter how we feel, even though you feel uncomfortable, even though you feel unconfident. I don't care. I literally don't care. And I tell people, I don't care. I don't care how you feel. Do it. I don't care. Do the thing. Because I already know where it's going. They're going to feel confident. They're going, because when you practice something, you feel confident in that thing. Even though you may still get nervous, right? Professional piano players probably still get nervous before a show, but they are confident in their ability to play the piano. That's what we want. And it just, like, I really hope people understand, like, when you start in one aspect, it bleeds into the other aspects, and it's so seamless. And before you know it, you turn around and you say, oh my God, I have so much peace. Oh, this is what it feels like. Like, it really feels like peace, because when you have the absence of danger, which is that toxic person, you have the presence of peace. And a lot of people will say, well, so like specifically for writing, right? People will write, horror movies, and they don't think about what leaves when danger comes. And it's a real interesting shift that I want your people to think about. Because in the presence of danger, you have all these other things that come with it, but you also have an absence of peace, an absence of safety, an absence of your ability to just exist, because your existence is in danger. So when you build confidence, when you have boundaries, when you feel worthy, you are okay to exist because you're allowed to. But we have to give ourselves permission. That's why it's a self-discipline practice. Nobody's going to give you permission. I will, but I can't literally do the work for you.
Well, my ladies write themselves permission notes, and I used to have.
I love that.
Oh yeah, like my whole door in my old bedroom before I got married, my whole door was like, "Dear Sarah, I give you permission to outgrow your upbringing. Dear Sarah, I give you permission to speak your truth. Dear Sarah, I give you permission." Yeah, it's actually a Brene Brown technique. I can't take too much credit for it, but it's so helpful.
Yeah, that's super powerful.
We do, you know, and when women are struggling with something, it's like that old school, like, Mom, I need a permission note. It does something in our brains. It's already associated with, oh, we're allowed to now. Somebody signed it. We're allowed.
I love that.
It's a really quick breakthrough. Awesome. Any other confidence boosters or anything else you want to add to this conversation?
The biggest confidence booster is a sneaky one, and it's do things you enjoy.
Okay, yeah.
That's it. Do things you enjoy and be willing to do new things, even though, self-discipline again, even though you're afraid of looking stupid. Because once you can say, oh, I may look dumb, but I don't care, confidence. Oh my God, confidence. So like, for example, nothing embarrasses me. I don't care. Like, I literally do not care what anyone thinks, except for some people on some things. I care about what the important people think on the things that are important to me. But once you practice doing new things and releasing the thought of, oh my God, what will other people think? First of all, they don't care about you. Second of all, neither do we. That's confidence. So if you do things you enjoy, you're saying, hey, self, you're worth my time. You're worth my attention. You're worth my love, which is a confidence booster. And if we do new things and we learn to sit through the discomfort, because it will go away, we learn to sit through the discomfort of new things. Now we're telling ourselves, hey, you can withstand something that's stressful. You can withstand discomfort. And that's really the confidence practice. Can you get yourself through things that are uncomfortable? Well, yeah, you survived 100% of your days up until now. So it's a pretty good track record, but a lot of people don't think of it that way. So if you do things you enjoy, if you do new things, that is a really, really good way to start building confidence.
Well, and when you think about it, surviving 10 years of a toxic relationship is like this much hard. Like,
oh my God. Yeah. Like so hard.
Being up in a group or saying no is like this hard. It's just this little teeny tiny. I mean, it doesn't logically. But if you start to put in your perspective, like, what have I survived? And then what is what is life asking of me today?
Right.
And starting in those small, I call it smaller bridges to cross. So find the wait staff. So asking the wait staff for something I needed.
Yeah.
Like as
start
low
with somebody that's, you don't have a close relationship with. So if you tell them no, all right.
Yeah.
I love that.
But really putting that as much as you can logically in your head, and it is an emotional response, but thinking, gosh, what is harder, surviving those 3 years of torture, or
well, your brain is going to go, this is harder. Your brain's like, yeah, but this is harder because that was your normal, right? Humans are so adaptable. But that's why we have to understand when something is a safety behavior. You probably weren't allowed to say no in a toxic relationship, even if it was never implicit violence.
Yeah.
If they made it too difficult for you to say no, too exhausting for you to say no, your safety is removed. And so really having people understand, like, oh, this is just me carrying a coping mechanism that kept me safe. But because I'm in a different situation, I no longer need it. Then they can say, okay, let me choose when this coping mechanism
Yeah,
is appropriate.
Yes, that coping mechanism is appropriate. And
Right.
you know, you may have a toxic boss, and that coping mechanism is appropriate in that setting, or
Right.
toxic parent that you see
Right.
3 or 4 times a year,
Yeah.
and you have to adapt. Yeah.
And that's why so much of the work that I do is empowering, because you get to choose.
Mhm.
You get to choose, right? That's an empowering statement. I get to choose when and how I deal with people. I can't control them, but I can definitely control how they deal with me. And so really the biggest thing about boundaries and confidence and empowerment is that we choose how our relationships are. We choose other people's access to us. You may not be able to get away from your shitty boss, or maybe you have a kid with that toxic person, so you can't really fully get away from them unless they like move to, I don't know, Montana, like please.
Mhm.
But you can choose their access to you.
Yeah. Mhm.
And that builds confidence, because you're saying, nah, I don't have to let you.
Yeah.
Not only do I not have to, I'm not going to. That is like a bad bitch statement.
Yeah, I love it. Well, maybe tell people where they can find out more about you.
Oh, yes. Okay, so my website is liveyourhappyhealth.com. My Instagram is at Amanda_Chils, Chils. I talk a lot about boundaries, like living your best life, really like the steps to get there, because that's what people need, right? Like they need an actionable, crunchy little plan. And I'm actually launching a community starting July 1st. So if people want to come hang out in that, we're going to be talking a lot about some of these similar themes. We will have guest speakers, like you would be fabulous.
Yes.
No, literally, I would love to have you on. I think it would be phenomenal. And so, yeah, you can find me at livemyhappyhealth.com or at Amanda_Chils, and you can just come hang with me.
Awesome. So if you had, your voice was broadcasted to the entire world, and you had 1 minute to say, oh my gosh, I wish everybody knew this, what would you
say? Confidence comes from action.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Do the thing and it will follow.
Yes. Start small, move forward.
Start small. Start wherever. I don't care where you start. Start wherever.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, thank you, Amanda, for coming and sharing your wisdom. I'm so glad we were so aligned on this subject. So awesome. So, and thank you for helping us on our journey to becoming toxic person proof.
Yes, that's the goal.